To identify with my brother Belumi, who I was almost seeing him in my dream for the past 48 hours. Chairman, you have to be here. And I promised him that in addition to sending my coordinating director of legal and prosecution, Mr. Tayo S.A.N., who is here, to ordinarily I would have expected him to represent me. And also I have the director of SCUMO, who is also here, Mr. Ali Eri. And I said, okay, since I'm here, I need to just identify with you. One of the key concepts of my operational strategy upon my assumption of office is to use the instrumentality of this mandate to stimulate the economy. There is no way the fight against corruption will succeed if the economy is destroyed. So we review quite a number of our processes to ensuring that we encourage investors like you, we encourage developers like you, by always telling you to do the right thing. Let's get it right. Real estate is one of those key areas we are looking up to for the rapid development of our economy. Of course, you are aware of the shortage in the housing in Nigeria, probably between 15 and 20 million. And if you have to catch up with that, or we have to take care of that lacuna, it's really important to encourage people like you. 3 things I'm going to leave you with this morning before I take my leave. Number 1, let us always play by the rules if you want our business to succeed. The trend I've noticed in Nigeria in the area of real estate development and business is that a lot of people just go into it who know absolutely close to nothing about it. Everybody goes into real estate. The moment you are able to have access to small money, 100, 200 million, buy land, build house, and sell. Let us always understand that to every business there is a rule, applicable rules. And it's extremely in the interest of the stakeholders that the rules should be followed. The difference between our country and other developed countries where things work is just of compliance with rules. That's what we are lacking here. And when you see some of the people who have succeeded in business in this part of the world, you discover that they follow the rules. It may not be 100%, but they try as much as possible to do the right thing. First thing I'm going to encourage you to do, by virtue of the empirical evidence we have gathered and some of the things we have seen, statistics and our reports, we discover that the issue of money laundering is very rampant among estate developers, extremely rampant, and also the stakeholders in the industry. You have a property that is going for 350 million or 3.5 billion, as it were, an average duplex in Betama or Asokoro. And you see a civil servant of the level of a deputy director in a ministry, department or agency. Of course, you know he's the owner of the property. Maybe he uses his lawyer to buy the properties. They approached you. Somebody is ready to pay 3.5 billion for the property. As a developer, the first thing that must come to your mind is you have to do the KYC. Even the law does not make it mandatory for you. Has not made it mandatory for you to do. In the interest of your business and for the survival of your business, do it. It doesn't cost you anything. At the press of a button on the public social media, public space, you can get basic information about virtually almost everybody in Nigeria. And that's the truth. That is very lacking in the business. The need for you to do KYC. And the problem you don't do it, why you don't do it, is because you feel you will scare your potential customers or prospective customers. Don't forget the legal principle of accessory before and after the fact. So if somebody steals money and uses it to buy property from you, and we trace that money to you, we will recover it from you. Yes. Yes. We will recover it. Because you can't sit on process of crime. The moment we establish it and we prove it to you that this money was stolen, we will follow it, trace the money, recover it. So you go after the person who has bought property from you to take your property back. But that money will take back from you. So please note that in the interest of your business. I took this up when in the last MDA conference, the need for lawyers to do the KYC. I'm a lawyer myself. We drag it back and forth, and eventually we agreed that there's need for us to do it. So we are back to the table. And incidentally, just yesterday, the delegate from FATF came to Nigeria. Those who attended to them are also in this room. And very soon, hopefully, we'll be getting off the grey list. And these are the things that we need to improve. We are not, I told them, we are not just going to do it because we want to satisfy the FATF conditions or terms. We are doing it in the interest of our own system. See, there is no way your business will survive if you don't do these basic things. Somebody just told us now, at the price of a pot, you know who owns what. Where things work, in the climates where things work. So why is our own different? Why? Now the beneficial ownership principle that have been put in place, I wouldn't know, is Corporate Affairs Commission, are they here? Did you invite them? So the operationalization of beneficial ownership register, please, we need to work on it. And that's what we are talking about. Now, even if you are using a trustee or an agent to manage your real estate business, what we are saying, ultimately, who is the owner of that property? So it has to be there. Now, the whole thing is so vague, so opaque in Nigeria. But with the operationalization of that, we'll be able to determine who owns what. And the KYC will be easy for us to do. Secondly, the racket that has been going on at FCDA, I want to really commend the effort that has been put in place in recent time in FCDA. Now, they have improved on their processes and all of that. And we want you to do more of that, sir. Please do more of that. I can attest to the fact that there's a serious improvement. And there is still also a long way to go. You are aware that we are in court with quite a number of staff of AGs and FCDA. We had cause to prosecute quite a number of them who are complicit in some of this. As a matter of fact, we have an office, a section, domicile in that FCDA, our Land and Property Fraud section is domiciled there. And we have had cause to arrest quite a number of their staff to prosecute them. We are in court with them because they do racket. They are, they syndicate with some of these people who are fraudsters in the industry. So we also want to encourage agents to do more, FCDA to do more. We want to see more transparency in your processes. We have had reasons where we have 3 RFOs on one property, and the entire 3 emanated from their record. So we'll be wondering who owns what. Do we have to get to this level? So it's a major challenge for us, but because of the improvement we have seen, they are not there yet. But we need to also work with them, even as developers work with them. If there are things you see that notice that they can destroy the industry in the area of documentation and all of that, please let them know, so that all of us will synergize, will work together to move this sector forward. The third thing I want to share with you: go and tidy up your books. Pay your tax when you are supposed to do. You must be interested in property tax, capital gains tax, and all of that. Advise your clients, because it's not, some of us are here who are also consultants, lawyers, to that effect. It's extremely important. I saw here that Pelumi said Law Corridor had done business advisory and whatever to the tune of about 340 billion in the last 1 year or whatever. I hope you pay the right tax on this particular capital gain. Before we start knocking on your doors. I was really impressed when I saw the volume of the business Pelumi has done. It's extremely important. We'll start, I've set up a team. We'll start visiting all the estates across, not only Abuja, across Nigeria. We want to know who owns what. It will shock you that some of these estates have been abandoned for 20 years, 10 years. They just take it to a level and they abandon it. Nobody knows what is going on. And you know, the little thing, what we have been able to gather is that most of these estates were funded by civil servants who have stolen money. So the moment they leave public service, the money is no longer coming. So they abandon the estate. So the developer is not looking for investors, to support them to complete the project. That's one of the things we have discovered in some of these abandoned estates. And we have taken the pain to move against some of those estates. In recent time, we have had cause to file for forfeiture for about 15 of them. We have got interim. Now, I'm very sure some of you sitting in this room, probably some of those estates belong to you. So very soon be expecting us to meet you in court. Because there's no way we'll develop the sector if we should continue with that attitude. Get something to a level. I know some of you, you have your genuine source of capital. But again, we look at it too. The system has to help you. The system has to encourage you. I've taken it up with the bankers. There is no one who will go to the commercial bank in Nigeria and borrow money and invest in real estate and you will make profit. It takes time. Sometimes you are on a project for 5 years and you have gone to a bank to take a loan at the rate of 18%, 20%, if not 25, if not 30. Elvis, you are here. You are one of the people who borrowing and giving loan at 40%. So how do you survive? How do you survive? I think that's why some people go to the market their properties even on paper before they even get the land. Yes, sir. So you structure it, but at the same time, there is always a problem along the line if you are not careful. So I know you have a challenge in the area of sourcing capital and all of that, but at the same time, don't bite more than you can chew. Start with what you can handle. Don't let anybody hide under you and do money laundering. We're going to expose you, we're going to fish you out and bust the racket. Because we have got to a stage in Nigeria where all of us, we have to synergize, we have to collaborate. The government will play its part, private sector will play their own part, and for this country to move forward. It is my desire that by the time you are having another round of disengagement, we'll have better news to share. And I want to see you succeed, but please do the right thing.
Developers, government agencies, major stakeholders, most times try to come together to see how to provide tangible products that will meet the needs and the means of prospective buyers. In doing that, we discovered that most times, particularly at this moment, the means are not too, people do not really have means of meeting their needs. So in an attempt to marry the two together, you discover that players are trying most times to compromise standard and quality. And at the end of the day, we find ourselves in very, very terrible situation. To avoid doing that, we discovered that we must all come together, sit down, look at issues, address issues, and find a way to navigate the challenges. And this is exactly what we'll be doing today. On this note, I want to welcome each and every one of us. I want to wish us well. And I want to believe that we will all be part of the success stories of affordable housing delivery in Nigeria. Thank you.
The director of the or perhaps stakeholders who are concerned, particularly.
Confirm the ownership of a property in the UK, but I can't do that here. And you can't have certainty of title and authentic land transactions if you cannot have the starting point of verifying title. Then the next thing is this issue of title registration. We have an antiquated system which requires that the governor give a consent, and that has now made it difficult for people to register their title, and also made it very easy for people to launder money through properties. There was that case, allegedly, of somebody owning 700 properties, and none of them registered. Our law has not evolved to the stage where there is mandatory requirement that all properties must be registered. And so this conversation is very important, because if we are serious about fighting corruption, these are some of the low-hanging fruits we must address. We must address the provision for title registration, for need for consent. In other clients, private companies handle this, and there's a database which you can easily verify. We have people who are given land allocation under mass housing, under accelerated development. There's no clear picture as to what is the nature of the title they were given. And there is provision in some of the development leases issued by the FCT requiring people who have such properties to give allocation to the people who have bought property within them, and for these titles to be registered. Yet, no proper scheme has been made out in ages, in over 20 years, for this to be done. And so people own properties in these estates, and they cannot register it, and the estate developers act as land registries. It doesn't happen anywhere. And then, also, it doesn't make for certainty where any minister can just go to the media and announce that he has revoked title of all those who have not paid ground rent. It puts fear in the mind of investors. You don't even know the state of these things. In this age and time, you would think that we will deploy technology to make it easy for people to register transfer of interest in property. And for things like ground rent to be emailed to people, you have to have a cumbersome process of getting the demand for ground rent, to pay and return your receipt for them to, the proof of payment for them to issue you receipt. People cannot obtain funding to develop estate. People cannot acquire interest in estate because some banks cannot finance you because of uncertainty surrounding the title of those who are building. And then he has referred to double allocation. How do you have double allocation if somebody is not being funny? If it's been allocated, it's no longer available, and the record should show that it's been allocated. Except somebody somewhere is playing pranks, there shouldn't be such a thing. There's opacity about transactions. And we must get it right. We must tell ourselves that the present system is not working, cannot work, and cannot make for confidence. And I'm glad that directors from the EFCC are here. You can't investigate money laundering and some of these things if you cannot sit on your system. And sometimes the process of writing letters doesn't give you the results. So I commend Law Corridor for gathering all of us here today to have this conversation. Home ownership should be one of the easy things people should do. And the safety or the knowledge that whatever money you're putting in the property is secure and the transaction is seamless, and you can easily verify the title of the person purporting to be the owner and selling to you, and also the ability to register your title for whatever purpose should be such that they should be seamless. We should therefore urge the National Assembly, and I'm sure it will come up in the course of this conversation, in this process now that we are amending the Constitution, to take a second look at this, to look at the administrative strictures we have, and the fact that some things we can easily do we're not doing, and so that we will come out of here with firm resolutions, having identified the issues that we need to identify, to have a real conversation around this area, so that we can improve it and make it one of the most efficient part of our administrative life, so that people will not put their life savings in a property, only discover that they have been scammed, or that they don't have anything to show that they have actually acquired any interest. So thank you for inviting me, and thank you for allowing me to take these few minutes of your time to fulminate on some of the things I've always expressed worry about in our land administration in Nigeria. Thank you so very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is both an honor and profound responsibility to speak before you today on the theme, Policy Dialogue on Critical Issues Affecting Nigeria's Real Estate Ecosystem. This summit could not have come at a better time than now for the rapid infrastructural development currently being experienced in the Federal Capital City. the area councils and satellite towns. The slogan, Wike is working on Mr. Project, are now common among many residents who appreciate the beauty of the Abuja master plan and are experiencing an improved standard of living, reduced traffic, enhanced healthcare and overall well-being. The Federal Capital Development Authority, FCDA, the Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA, has a mandate of building first-class capital city comparable to the best in the world through the planning, design, and implementation of infrastructural development, as well as other fiscal development projects in the Federal Capital Territory. The institutional framework for housing delivery in the FCT is anchored on the provisions of the Abuja Master Plan and the National Housing Policy, aimed at delivering housing for different segments of the society through policy interventions, such as official residencies for top government functionaries, embassies and other public officers, mass housing schemes, resettlement housing schemes, affordable housing schemes, owner-occupier are all some of the government initiatives in housing delivery for the residents of the FCT. Now, the Abuja Master Plan describes housing as being more than just a dwelling unit. It describes it as a complex product comprising combination of services, including indoor living spaces, land utilities and work location, community services, outdoor living spaces, and social and cohesive relationship with neighbors, among others. Housing represents the most basic human need after food and water. Thus, it is in itself a basic social infrastructure service. The FCT and FCTA has continually tried to sustain a well-developed infrastructure, which is in line with the provisions of the Abuja Master Plan, through the provision of an excellent road network, water and sanitation, electricity, a good transportation system, telecommunication, and healthcare, among others. For the district infrastructure development, Phase 1 has reached an advanced level of completion, with Phase 2 and Phase 3 ongoing. While not much progress has been recorded within Phase 4 and 5, the Abuja Master Plan provides for the development of satellite towns alongside the development of the city, as well as providing infrastructural facilities for the relocation and resettlement schemes within the satellite towns. The FCT administration leverages on the mass housing scheme, which was initiated in 2008 as a public-private partnership, PPP, to address the housing deficit in the FCT. Now, prospective developers of the housing and infrastructure in the FCT are required to abide by the prescribed codes, standards, and guidelines of the mass housing scheme, which provides acquiring genuine land titles, land administration and ages, obtaining development permits, lease agreement from relevant stakeholders, the Department of Survey and Mapping, Urban and Regional Planning, Engineering, Design and Evaluation, Engineering Services, Development Control, and the Mass Housing PPP departments, before commencement of development, as well as all necessary stage approvals required in the course of the project implementation phase. This will have a great impact on the FCT administration goal of delivering sustainable real estate development in the territory, in line with the National Housing Program, as well as the federal government's Nigeria Economic Sustainable Plan, NESP. The FCT administration is, however, ready to provide the enabling environment in terms of ease of doing business, among others, for the willing and compliant investors to make housing happen. We must, therefore, key into the current administration's renewed hope agenda of Mr. President to improve the real estate ecosystem in Nigeria. Please be assured that the FCDA will continue to collaborate with all stakeholders in this quest to contribute to nation building. As we proceed with this discourse, it is our hope that we will arrive at implementable, innovative, and educative ideas which will impact positively on the real estate ecosystem. In closing, let us remember that real estate is not just about land, it is about people. It is about their aspiration, their dignity, and their right to live and thrive in a well-governed, safe, and inclusive environment. Let us build trust through transparency. Let us collaborate and not just develop properties. Thank you all, and God bless. I would like to also respond to the earlier speaker that for the mass housing scheme, the titles being issued is the letter of intent and then the development lease agreement. Subsequently, certifications will be issued to end users of the individual units of each of the housing within the mass housing scheme. This is currently ongoing. The Department of Land Administration has commenced. Certification is ongoing. And I've also taken note of the other issues he has raised. I'll forward them and then we'll do something about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, architects.
Stakeholders in the real estate value chain, ladies and gentlemen, we gather today at a decisive moment in the evolution of Nigeria's real estate ecosystem, an inflection point where systemic challenges and untapped opportunities coexist in sharp contrast. The real estate sector bears more than just concrete structures and land registries. It is an economic powerhouse that directly influences urban development, job creation, wealth distribution, and social stability. Yet, for all its potential, the sector remains plagued by several inefficiencies, fragmented regulation leading to pervasive fraud. With the Land Use Act of 1978 being at the center of it all, disharmony and framework complexities becloud the regulation of property allocation, title transfer, and acquisition of interest in mass housing schemes in the face of the growing number of property developers in Nigeria. Current estimates place Nigeria's housing deficit between 17 to 20 million units, with a required annual delivery of 700,000 units to meet demand. Unfortunately, output falls drastically short. In Abuja, for example, only about 5,000 new units were constructed in 2024, satisfying less than 10% of the city's needs. These gaps reflect deep-rooted policy failures, regulatory lapses, and legal ambiguities that continue to embolden fraudsters, quacks, and unlicensed agents. In the last decade alone, investor losses amounting to several billions of naira have been recorded due to double allocations, land fraud, title irregularities, and opaque ownership frameworks. These challenges have eroded investor confidence and undermined the credibility of a sector that ought to be a driver of inclusive economic growth. At Law Corridor, we have, in recent years, advised on real estate and infrastructure transactions exceeding 340 billion naira in value, offering deep, multi-level legal support to investors, developers, and institutions. Our experience affirms that the sector is both viable and vast, but requires urgent policy, legal, and institutional reforms to function optimally. This policy dialogue has been convened as a platform for solution-oriented deliberation. It brings together key regulators, public officials, private sector leaders, legal experts, and development actors to interrogate the systemic failures and co-create policy responses that can reposition the sector for transparency, growth, and resilience. The dialogue focuses on three critical themes. One, tackling illegal property sales, the proliferation of fake developers and unlicensed agents. Two, investment compliance, and anti-money laundering in the real estate sector. 3, access to legal remedies and strengthening consumer protection. We must now act with clarity, courage, and coordination that we forge here today through insights, partnership, and policy innovation. We shape the landscape of Nigerian real estate and redefine what is possible for our communities and our country. Thank you.
And of course, all the negotiations had gone back and forth. Unfortunately, I was there in the room when the owner was making this statement. And the question I asked was, why did you waste our time? Unfortunately, one of the problems we have in Nigeria, like Mr. President of the Nigerian Bar Association has mentioned, is the fact that we have problems with central land registry. And that is not meant to be. But I must also mention to all of us that it is not all gloom in Nigeria. And I think we should give a round of applause to Mr. Project that has been doing so fantastically. Please, a round of applause for the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. And of course, all through. But one of the things I say to people is this: if we can manage our problems of housing in Nigeria, I think issues of corruption would really go down. I can say for a fact that one of the problems young men and women have, perhaps in Nigeria, is the fact that accommodation is a key challenge. Imagine you earning whatever you're earning, little less than 250,000 naira, and you have to pay for your housing accommodation. And those that own houses in Nigeria will be calling it at 30 million, 40 million. And I wonder how they'll be able to pay without having to double the books. And so, one of the other things I also find stunning in Nigeria is the fact that all the list of houses or property owners, we cannot go to a central system and check who owns what. And not even in relation to investigating anybody, is as to perhaps when you want to do transactions, you can't be in any other country in the world and say, oh, this investor is coming, we can check this property, we know its ground rent is up to date, we know the owners, we know who has transferred from one person to the other. And so those are the issues we need to discuss. Thank God this morning we're talking about tackling illegal property sales. And so for the purpose of this discussion, I would call on estate owners here to tell us about their experiences in terms of sales of property. In fact, I'll give you 2 minutes each. I think we'll have a few of them around. And I need somebody with the mic here, please, who's going to help us with the mic, to tell us the appropriate way when you want to acquire. And one of these things that we're trying to do is for us to know, you can hear from them directly. They own estates, they know the process. What is their procedure from point of sale to point of transfer? And in fact, thank God, people from FCDA, they are here. They also know the project, the process. And so for us today, one of the things we need to clarify is what is the process of that acquisition. So please, by show of hand, anybody that wants to tell us, if we want to acquire from your own estate, what do we need to do? Madam, please can I get somebody with? Okay, so I'll give this one and then, can we all hear me? Can we all hear me? Okay, so I'll run from here.
Good morning, everyone. Once again, my name is Uzo, the MD CEO of Soul Real Estate. I'll be speaking briefly on the process of acquisition of properties in Soul Real Estate. Whilst we want to purchase a property, the first thing we do is to conduct a search in ages to ensure
one of us, and to also thank my brother for setting the tone for what I'm about to say. Thank you, my chairman, and also the organizer. Well, if you look at the subsection of this discussion, investment compliance and anti-laundering issues, let's look at the baseline first. Where does the money being used in real estate come from, majorly? Public sector procurement accounts significantly for a lot of the estates being developed across the country. Public sector funding accounts for a lot. That means, what that tells us right now is that if we're going to curb anti-laundering issues, then we need to tackle the aspect of how public funds are being utilized to provide good works and services to our Nigerian people. So for the real sector, or the real estate sector, which is one of the prime movers of our economic development as a nation, we cannot overlook the fact that we need to introduce transparency, accountability, how we source money to fund the real estates in this country. So for procurement, what BPP is trying to do now, in collaboration with CAC, is to say, if you award you a contract, when you are awarded a contract, we want to measure that contract with actual performance. Because essentially, contract, the profit margin, averagely, when you look at it, shouldn't be more than 30%. Shouldn't. But most times you see that projects are left abandoned, and then within 6 months, 3 months, you see evolution of real estate springing up. Where is the funds coming from? A private citizen has who uses his own funds. You find that it takes time to be able to build such facilities. And globally, when you see real estate being developed, there's a sequencing of activities. There's a way they fund it. But in our own case, an estate starts today, in 3 months, it's fully, 6 months, it's fully completed. The question is, how? Where did that money come from? So for procurement perspective, what we intend to do, and my brother has rightly said, is to prevent it even from happening. Is to use procurement to prevent it from actually happening by tightening the procurement process and how projects are implemented. Because the difference between the actual cost of the project is what leads to people having funds to launder. That difference that we cannot account for is what gives people to look for other places.